Whoa.
Jinx.
Woo! Let's get some gold, boys. All right.
We got 100 ounces right here.
Rick Ness disappeared after season 15 ended in disaster. His ex took gold when she left. Legal troubles shut down his mine. People said he was using again, maybe living in his truck. The internet declared him finished. But a mining equipment dealer in Whitehorse just posted something shocking. Rick walked into his shop 3 days ago with serious money. He bought new machinery, paid cash, and signed papers for a massive operation.
I am back. I feel better than I have in a long time. I'm pretty confident. I know what I'm doing now.
The man everyone thought was broken is actually preparing for the biggest comeback in Goldrush history. Rick Ness came into the world on March 5, 1981, in Milwaukee. But his real shaping happened in Escanaba. It was a small place beside Lake Michigan, steady and rough, where logging, mining, and shipbuilding shaped almost every family. The air itself seemed to teach you to work hard, and Rick grew up right inside that rhythm. Money was never steady, but lessons were. His parents and the rest of his family lived by effort and honesty and grit, so those values soaked into him early. He watched men come home tired but proud, and he saw how teams survived only when they trusted one another. These ideas stayed with him, and later on, when he walked into cold mining camps far from everything familiar, he carried those early lessons inside him like a compass. His father ran a commercial construction company in Escanaba, and that place became more than a business for Rick. It became a school. Heavy machinery stood around him like giants when he was small, and he learned how to handle them long before he understood what a career even meant. By the time he was 12 or 13, he was already on job sites, standing beside his father and uncles, learning what loaders and excavators and bulldozers could do if you treated them right. The work was loud, the days were long, but Rick paid attention. He learned how to fix things that broke, how to handle emergencies without panic, and how to lead by staying calm. Years later, when he stepped into mining, these skills felt like old tools in his hands. As a teenager, he wasn't just good with machines. People talked about the way he handled backhoes, skid steers, and dump trucks like they were extensions of his own arms. Other kids were figuring out cars and part-time jobs, but Rick was already trusted with dangerous equipment. He spent summers on dusty job sites and weekends learning repair work in cold garages. By the time he turned 16, contractors respected him enough to let him supervise workers older than him. That steady confidence followed him everywhere. It made him fearless in the mining world later on, because he had already learned how to stay steady when everything around him shook. In school, though, he was known for something else: football. He was the linebacker and fullback who hit hard and never backed up. Coaches called him reliable and tough, the kind of player who played through pain without letting it show. He wrestled too, and even ran track, proving that his strength came with endurance. People thought he was heading toward a scholarship, and maybe more. But then, during his senior year, a head injury slammed that dream shut. It forced him to step away from the sport he loved. The moment hit him so fast that it took years for him to understand how deeply it cut. Even so, the toughness he built on the field stayed inside him. And later, in mining camps where days blurred and pressure never let up, that toughness became one of his strongest tools. From the start, people around him noticed that Rick just didn't break. His father taught him to push through anything. His coaches taught him discipline. His teammates taught him teamwork. He had been shaped by people who expected him to endure, so he carried that into everything he touched. When he moved toward mining years later, that same core helped him survive long nights, broken machines, and setbacks that would have knocked other people down. This toughness was no act. It was something built slowly over years of hard lessons. But before his mining life even began, he had to face the crash of his college football dream. He had entered college in the late 1960s, convinced football would carry him forward. Coaches called him a hotshot, and he believed he could shape a future through the sport. Then came the head injury in the early 1970s. One hit, one moment, and the path collapsed beneath him. Doctors pulled him off the field. Suddenly, his life no longer made sense. He had built his identity around the sport, and now that center was gone. The psychological blow lingered. He felt unsteady and uncertain. Without football's structure and community, he drifted. He battled quiet stretches of depression and wondered what purpose was left for him. Those years forced him to rebuild himself. He had to find a new anchor, and that took time. Eventually, he turned back to the world he understood best: blue-collar work, construction, heavy machinery, long days that left him tired but grounded. It wasn't glory, but it was honest, and it kept him moving. The skills he sharpened there later helped him break into gold mining. Even though he had no mining background at all, he simply leaned on what he knew. Hard work, long hours, focus. Those early crashes planted something inside him, a seed of resilience. Later in life, when he faced deeper tragedies, like losing his mother in 2018, it was that seed that kept him moving. He has admitted that grief dragged him into depression and even led to stretches where he used substances to cope. Still, he returned to mining and rebuilt his crew. He set huge goals, like bringing in 150 ounces in a single season. Every setback taught him the same lesson he learned after college. Pain does not end you. You keep going. His path took another turn after football. Almost out of nowhere, he picked up the upright bass. He had no training, but he taught himself anyway. Around 2004, he joined the 357 String Band, a Milwaukee group that mixed bluegrass with raw punk energy. They had no drums, but they had fire, and Rick fit right in. By 2006, he was touring across the United States and Europe. They played in nearly every state except 2. They recorded 3 albums, slept in vans, and played in bars and clubs where sweat hung in the air. Rick became known as the Rickness, the calm guy who chewed gum, smoked, and kept the rhythm steady no matter what happened. Those road years toughened him in a different way. They taught him how to live with little, how to adapt fast, and how to stay sharp when sleep was scarce. His shift to the upright bass surprised even him. By 2005, he had become a central part of the band. They played more than 200 shows a year and built a loyal following. He appeared on several tracks, proving he could hold his own with seasoned musicians, even though he had started from scratch. The shows were wild, and Rick thrived in that rush. He learned to connect with crowds, manage chaos, and keep things moving even when the band was exhausted. Those habits later helped him lead teams in the Yukon. His time with the 357 String Band grew quickly. The band toured across North America and Europe, played festivals, and became known for their loud, raw sound. Fans loved them, but the grind was constant. They slept in cramped vans, lived on fast food, and drove through endless nights. Rick did more than play bass. He booked venues, handled equipment, solved problems, and kept morale up when everyone else felt worn out. Those experiences taught him how to manage moving parts under pressure, a skill that later defined him in mining operations. Eventually, the band could not stay together. In 2011, guitarist Jake Orvis was fired after disagreements. The group tried to push on, but soon after, Joseph Huber left to pursue other paths. Without him, the band had no center. They said goodbye with 2 farewell shows in Milwaukee and Green Bay. Rick later said, "The breakup felt like a pitiless truth of the music world." Without strong commercial success, even talented bands struggled to survive. After those final shows, Rick stepped away from music for a while, unsure of his next move. Rick Ness never planned on gold mining. His path started in a noisy fairground in 2010 when he was on stage with the 357 String Band at the Southeast Alaskan State Fair. He was 37 and used to long hours from construction work, but music was his world. Then Parker Schnabel showed up in the crowd. Parker was young, focused, and already knee-deep in the mining life. After the show, they talked for a bit, and something in Rick's calm way of handling himself made Parker pause. He liked that Rick seemed steady. He liked that he worked hard without making noise about it. So he offered him a job, even though Rick knew nothing about mining. That one short meeting in late August 2010, during a fair Rick almost skipped, quietly pushed him toward a future he never imagined. By season 3 of Goldrush, he was standing in the Yukon, wearing heavy boots instead of playing a banjo. And somehow, it felt right. When Rick first showed up in 2012, he had zero mining experience. He had never sat in an excavator or even touched heavy machinery. Parker hired him because he trusted his work ethic, and that trust became the beginning of everything. Rick learned the craft one mistake at a time. He drove trucks, dug trenches, hauled dirt, and froze through 14-hour days in temperatures that made his eyelashes stiff. There was no family legacy guiding him, no grandfather teaching him how to pan. All he had was the determination to get better. And slowly, he did. Fans saw that. They watched him go from outsider to someone worth watching, someone who knew how to keep a machine alive when it wanted to die. Soon, Rick became more than a new guy in a truck. As Parker's crew pushed deeper into the Yukon, he became the person everyone depended on. He fixed machines before they failed. He stayed calm when everything else fell apart. He did the jobs nobody wanted to do. By the time season 6 rolled around, Rick was no longer learning. He was leading. Parker trusted him with reclamation work, crew management, and on-the-spot decisions that could save a whole season. What made it even more striking was how natural it all looked. He had not grown up with miners. He had not trained for this life. Yet here he was, becoming one of Parker's most valuable people because he showed up every single day and refused to give up. Fans noticed all of this. Rick's honesty, his quiet humor, his refusal to play for the cameras, and the way he worked through brutal conditions without complaining made him a favorite. Viewers saw him break down equipment, rebuild it, and get right back to digging. They watched him take hits in his personal life, financial setbacks, and moments when everything went wrong. And they stayed with him. When he later stepped out on his own, that support followed. People liked Rick because he felt real. He struggled like they did. He tried, failed, tried again, and slowly carved out something that looked like success. That is why in 2019, during season 9, his choice shocked so many people. After 6 years with Parker, he walked away. He was 38 and about to take the biggest risk of his life. He sold his late mother's house. He emptied his savings. He put every part of his safety net into one dream. He wanted to be a mine boss. He wanted to run his own claim and be responsible for his own gold. The risk was huge. Equipment costs were massive. Crew wages climbed each month. Fuel bills could break a season. But Rick still jumped because he believed he could do it. At that moment, he had nothing to fall back on. The entire gamble rested on him finding enough gold before the snow returned. Going independent meant facing numbers that could make anyone dizzy. He bought a wash plant called Monster Red for $500,000. If it broke, repairs could cost thousands more. He had land agreements that required guaranteed payments whether he found gold or not. At one point, he owed Troy Beach $350,000, no matter what the ground produced. That kind of pressure makes every ounce feel like life or death. The monthly crew expenses alone could reach $350,000 in a single season. Yet, Rick kept going, even when it looked impossible. He did not build his new operation with strangers. He called friends. people who trusted him even when he could not promise steady pay. Some seasons they worked with only 2 or 3 people doing the work of a full crew. They lived through breakdowns, storms, long nights, and moments when the mine felt too big for them. Rick knew he had trusted the wrong people before, and he learned from it. This time, he chose carefully. Every decision mattered because one wrong choice could collapse everything they had built. Then, something wild happened. In his rookie season as a mine boss, he broke records. More than 100 ounces of gold. He had aimed for 1,000. He beat it. The haul was worth around $3.6 million based on those season prices. It stunned viewers. It surprised other miners. People had doubted him. They said he would fail without Parker. Instead, he delivered one of the strongest first seasons ever seen on the show. That moment changed how people saw him. He was no longer Parker's second in command. He was a leader in his own right. That success shaped his reputation as the underdog who made it. Rick never hid his personal struggles. He talked about losing his mother. He talked about depression. He talked about nights when his world felt too heavy. Fans connected to that. They saw someone who kept going even when life hit back hard. That honesty made him part of the show's heart, someone viewers rooted for because he showed the cost of trying to build something real. Then came the season that pushed everything to a higher level. One year, his operation delivered 5,300 ounces of gold. Using 2025 prices, that came out to nearly $10 million. In the same run, he had another haul worth $3.6 million. Those numbers placed him beside giants like Tony Beats and Parker Schnabel. What made it even more powerful was that not long before this high point, he had been at rock bottom. He had lost money, stability, and direction. He had sold his mother's house to start again. Yet he climbed back and reached that peak with the same grit he had shown in his first days in the Yukon. The success pushed him to expand fast. He bought bigger machines, including a $500,000 dozer and a new excavator built to tear through tough ground. He widened his operation, taking on richer pay streaks and moving more earth than ever before. Every extra scoop meant more gold and more risk, but he wanted to push his operation into the league of the biggest miners. With more ground and more power, he stood shoulder to shoulder with the people he once worked for. But none of this came easy. The pressure was constant. He managed payroll, equipment upkeep, and the unpredictable Yukon weather. Machines broke at the worst times. Repairs stalled production. Investors demanded results. Cameras rolled as tensions rose. On top of that, Rick carried the weight of his past losses. The stress was real. Still, he kept his crew steady and made fast decisions that saved season after season from slipping away. Even with all these wins, Rick held on to a dream that went deeper than daily gold counts. He wanted to own Yukon land, not lease it, own it. After 5 long years of payments, he finally reached the finish line at Duncan Creek. The final payment was 250 ounces of gold, worth around $475,000 using 2025 prices. He handed it to Troy Taylor in season 15. It was a moment that showed how far he had come. The deal gave him 2,000 acres of land with enough gold to keep mining for decades. But it also meant new challenges like water licenses and long-term planning. Still, he had done it. He had become a landowner in a place where most miners only rent the ground beneath their feet. Rick Ness was moving through life with a quiet kind of strength until September 2018 came and took the ground out from under him. His mother, Judy Ness, died of cancer at 55, and he said it changed him in ways he did not understand at first. The grief came fast and heavy. It stayed. He tried to hold it together on camera, but he later admitted he did not know how to process any of it. He said there was a stigma around talking about mental health in the mining world, so he stayed silent even when he felt himself slipping. By the time he opened up during Goldrush Season 13, The pain had been sitting inside him for years. Doctors told him he had seasonal affective disorder, something tied to darkness and long winters, something that tangled with the life he lived. It made everything harder. Soon after his mother passed, he faced another kind of weight. Her house carried memories, comfort, and years of family moments. But the bills kept piling up, and he needed money for one more mining push. Selling the house became the only option. He said it hurt in a way he could not explain. He had not stepped inside for 2 years. When he finally sold it in the 2022 to 2023 season, the money helped him get back into mining. But the guilt lingered. It felt like letting go of a piece of his mother, even though he knew he needed the chance to rebuild his life. By 2022, things reached a low point he could not hide. He said his life felt like it was falling apart. His finances were a mess. Equipment kept breaking. The weather worked against him. The pressure never stopped. And on top of all that, he was fighting a depression he did not want anyone to see. He tried to handle it alone, but isolation only made it worse. The stress of owning a claim and paying for every mistake pulled him deeper into that dark place. Everything built up until he could not keep going. That is when he stepped away from Goldrush for an entire season. He said it was the only way to save himself. During this time, he also admitted something that shocked fans. He used cocaine during his darkest years. He said he turned to it to numb everything he did not want to face. His ex-girlfriend, Ness, later claimed his addiction and involvement with sex workers had started before they ever got together. She said he promised to change, but could not. Rick said talking about it made him uncomfortable, but he needed to be honest. It became a painful turning point and forced him to confront what he had been avoiding. Stepping away from the show was not easy for him, but in September 2023, he said he had no choice. He needed help. He said his diagnosis and the weight of everything he had lost left him exhausted. During his hiatus, he worked on himself. Therapy, support from friends, and time away from cameras helped him start over. When season 14 came around, he returned with a clearer mind and a little more hope. It did not erase the past, but it gave him space to breathe. Still, the emotional chaos around his life did not slow down. His relationship with Ness had already become a public storm. They got engaged in December 2023, but by May 2024 it was over again. She said he cheated more than 200 times. She said that on Valentine's Day, he proposed, and then cheated within 48 hours. She shared everything online, pulling fans into their private pain. Their final split happened in February 2024. She continued posting, calling out lies, calling out betrayal, and people took sides. Rick's reputation took another hit. In early 2024, the substance abuse rumors resurfaced. Rick admitted again that cocaine had been part of his past. Ness said it fueled his cheating and late-night partying. She said she could never win over his addiction. Fans were stunned when they learned he had sold his mother's house just to keep his mining dream alive. Everything about his life felt unstable and loud at the same time. Then, season 15 arrived, and things got even worse. Ness left him abruptly, and fans believe she took a significant amount of gold when she walked away. Some said it was thousands of dollars worth. Rick was heartbroken and financially shaken. Rumors spread that she was leaking his secrets online. He was already struggling with permits and equipment problems, and now he had to deal with missing gold and online attacks. The season became one of the most dramatic the show had ever seen. More flames rose when he clashed with crew member Morgan Lauren. In early 2024, she commented online about a situation involving Rick. He responded aggressively, attacking her publicly. The whole exchange went viral. Fans argued about whether she left the show voluntarily or was pushed out. Once again, Rick looked volatile, and his reputation suffered even more. By that point, the damage was everywhere. Fans questioned whether he could lead a crew or keep his personal life separate from his work. Accusations of cheating, addiction, fights, and drama filled every corner of the internet. Even when he tried to return stronger, the noise around him overshadowed his efforts. He became one of the most talked about names in Goldrush, but not for the reasons he wanted. Still, he tried. After leaving the show following season 13, he came back for season 14 determined to start again with almost no money. He sold his mother's house to fund the operation. He bought second-hand equipment. He teamed up with Brian Z. Zaremba, someone he trusted deeply. They worked with what they had. Slowly, they found good ground at Duncan Creek. Bit by bit, they turned the season around. When Gold finally came out of the dirt, it felt like he had climbed out of a hole. His comeback showed what resilience looked like in real time. But fans noticed something else when he returned. His face looked different, much different. Videos from 2024 showed changes in his nose, cheeks, and jawline. People wondered if he had been injured. Others whispered about surgery or the long-term effects of drugs. He never confirmed anything. The mystery made the conversation grow even louder. Fans worried about his health. His face looked gaunt. His weight changed. People wondered if he had been sick. Others thought the emotional stress had taken a physical toll. Rick talked about depression again and said drugs were part of his past. His honesty made people feel for him, but the concern never faded. In interviews leading into the 2024 season, he said the last year had been the toughest of his life. He talked about losing his mother, losing money, losing himself a little. He said the loneliness of mining made everything heavier. He said it nearly crushed him. Therapy helped. Friends helped. He was trying to rebuild, step by step. Season 14 and 15 showed how he rebuilt. He started with scraps and used whatever he could afford. Z became his right hand. They used second-hand machines and worked with careful planning instead of big risks. By the end of the season, they had pulled in real gold again. The success felt like proof that he could still do this. As of late 2025, he is still mining. His story keeps shifting. In season 16, which premiered in November 2025, he lost his access to Duncan Creek after a denied water license. He had to negotiate with Troy Taylor to mine at Lightning Cut. The new location comes with pressure. The timeline for approval is tight. Without proper permits, mining becomes risky and incredibly expensive. Fans keep watching because every year looks like make or break for him. Then, December 2025 brought another heartbreak. He lost Ruby, his mother's old dog. She was with the family for 19 years. When he posted about her passing, fans felt the pain in every word. It reminded everyone how much loss he had been carrying since 2018. He had taken a break from Goldrush in 2022 to heal. He opened up about depression and drugs. And now, this small piece of his mother's memory was gone too. On top of everything, the legal issues around his mine continue. In November 2024, the Yukon Water Board rejected his application for a new water license. They said his reclamation plan for 96 new and 99 existing grants was not feasible. He had until April 8, 2025 before his old license expired. Without a valid license, he could not operate at Duncan Creek. The renewal process takes months, sometimes more than a year. The backlog made the wait even worse. It became a central storyline because it threatened everything he had. His net worth also swings wildly. Estimates place him around $3 million as of late 2025. But that number rises and falls depending on gold prices, mining costs, legal fees, and personal setbacks. He earns about $25,000 per episode on Goldrush. His crew brought in around $4.5 million worth of gold in season 15. But equipment, fuel, staff, permits, and repairs eat up huge chunks of that money. Some seasons leave him almost empty. Some give him a little cushion. His past as a touring musician adds to his income. But mining has always been unpredictable.